Guys, Pittsburgh Weiss Schwartz back again with another deck tech for you. Today we're talking about yet another list that we have put together in Bofuri. This one though is not like any Bofuri deck that you've probably seen before. I've got Tyler here with me today,
Hello.
and the two of us will be running down this unique creation that the two of us came up with together.
It is solved Bofuri.
I call it Bully Bofuri, and you'll see why shortly, but it's pretty spicy. So at the beginning, as we usually do, we have the deck list for you in case you're interested in that. The Encore Decks link to this deck will also be provided in the description to this video, so you can do with that as you will. But without further ado, let's jump into the cards. First of all, we've got 4 copies of the Is Ricky. It's a true Ricky. Pay 1 clock top, search your deck for a level 1 or lower character. Helps you set up your level 1 combo. Lets you clock yourself to level 1, prevents you from being level locked. And then it gets extra power when you reverse another lane, icing on the cake. Pretty typical stuff. This level 0 Maple is a level 0, 500 power only, but it sits at 4,500 during your opponent's turn and has act pay 1 sack this, look at up to 4 cards from the top of your deck, take a game character. This is one of your primary ways to get through your deck speed in this deck. It allows you another way to dig into your level 1 combo, since we are running essentially 6 copies of the level 1 combo, and we'll talk about that in a bit. And this thing sits at 4,500, so it doesn't usually die to anything at level 0, aside from level 0 bomb, yeah. So pretty solid. Also at level 0, we have the really broken Climax swap in this set. It just sits at 3k base for no reason, basically an oversize.
Yep, basically an oversize. We got
And
Climax Swapper.
And it's a Climax. Yeah, go ahead.
No, well, I don't. No, we'll talk about that later.
Okay, but yeah, it gives you greater control of what climaxes you have in your hand at any point in the game. If you draw into some random climax you're not playing, you can swap into one you need. Especially since hint hint nudge
4, 2, and 2.
Yeah, hint hint nudge nudge. The split's a little weird. 2 of those climaxes are also pants. Lets you take a climax back to hand that you can swap for something else in the future. Just lots of ways to work around with that. And speaking of our weird climax split, since 4 of them are yellow, 2 are red, and 2 are blue, we've got this Sally Brainstorm that lets us play climaxes without fulfilling color requirements. So that's pretty nice if your colors are a little bit off in the early game. It also has, when you slam a climax, you can ditch a card, draw a card, which is some extra hand filter if you are being flooded with climaxes for some reason. On top of that, it's a pretty standard rest self salvage brainstorm.
It's search. No, it's search.
Oh, it is search?
Yeah.
Okay, pretty standard rest self search brainstorm, excuse me. That just lets you it does all the things your deck wants to do except for being on color. Basically, we're playing the 3 colors that aren't green.
Well, yeah, this is the only green card in the deck, so yeah. It's fine.
All right, here we go. Here's the man of the hour.
Yeah, now we're getting into the juice of the build.
Now we're getting spicy. Level 0, we play.
Here, I'm
gonna read the card off. 3 copies of Marcus the Trapper. He has, on play, choose one of your opponent's characters. That character gets, this card can't be popped back to hand or put into memory, and he's also a level 0 bomb. So go ahead, say what you were going to say about him.
Well, Marcus the Trapper is probably the MVP of the deck, I would say. He's pretty much just the Obero counter. He's any type of I need to go to memory level 0.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are the 2 reasons why I run 3 of those.
Yeah, so Marcus is, I feel like, extremely meta dependent, but in the right meta, he's extremely powerful. And as we're getting some of these new higher power sets in English coming over from JP, a lot of them have the level zeros, like the Shiro Bomb from Fate or Wildberry Princess from Adventure Time, that need to go to memory or want to go to memory as part of their effect, just that lets the opponent compress.
Yeah.
Marcus says
So
Marcus says no to that, and
yeah, Marcus denies all that early compression, which actually helps a lot.
he doubles as an answer to your opponent trying to loop Oboro in a matchup like against Konosuba, or if they're trying to pop back with Aaron against Attack on Titan. A card definitely plays a lot better than it reads, especially if you're into a meta where it's good.
And even if it's not in a meta where it's good, he's still just a level 0 bomb.
Yeah, absolute floor. He's a level 0 bomb. He kills your opponent's level 0s and moves on with your life.
Yep.
Back to a more normal card. We've got the Chieri. On death, ditch a card, look it up to 4, take a level 1 or higher card. This is another card that lets you accelerate through your deck as you need, gets you into your level 1 combo. There aren't any events in this deck or anything. That's usually what you try to grab with something like this. But it does let you get into just about anything else.
I know people are going to be asking why don't I run the on reverse Kome to grab climaxes since we have such a weird split. Overall, with all the testing I've done, that card is really trash.
I think it's like on reverse Rizes, like the timing just feels really bad.
Well, yeah, the timing feels bad because you need the climax before the attack, and then also with this card, with the Akatsuki, you want your combo, you want your level 1 combos for level 1. When you play the Kome is pretty much oversized. It's 2500 and it almost never gets reversed at level 0.
Yeah, so you field it in advance. You try to get your climax for level 1, but by the time it actually gets reversed, you are level 1, and it's too late to do anything worthwhile for.
Yeah. That's why I don't like it.
For this deck specifically.
No, I still don't like that card.
All right, moving on. Onto our level 1. Here's the level 1 combo. We run the double combo, the Mai and the Yui, both combo with this 2-soul destroyer. Both of them gain 500 power for each of your other game characters only on your turn. And they both have a climax combo that lets you choose a character from your waiting room, put it to stock, then reveal top if it's a character, add it to hand. The only thing that differs between the two of them is the condition that effect activates on. The Mai does that.
May. Yeah, May.
May. When your attack is canceled. So when her attack is canceled while the 2-soul is out, you get to perform the stock from waiting room reveal top add effect, and the other one performs that effect when your opponent levels up. So
normally you go to May and one Yui for most optimal, I'd say, for plussing of hand.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, if
because no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's very very situational based on the position your opponent's level is when you go into level 1. Like if your opponent is almost level,
just to put in perspective, I have every single time I've played this, going 2 and 1 is like almost the perfect split.
Mm-hmm. I'm just like
even if they're at the bottom of level 1, it works.
Well, say your opponent isn't level 1 yet. Say your opponent hit you to 1 and you're 0-6. Then
them?
Say your opponent is 0-6 and you are level 1 trying to combo. Then you want 3 Yuis, as many Yuis as you can field, because your opponent's definitely going to level up.
Okay, fair, but normally they hit level 1 first.
Right, and that's my point. Just the number you want to split is situational, but in most cases, 2 Mays, 1 Yui seems to be correct.
Yeah, fair. You've made a fine point.
Also at level 1, 3 copies of the level down Mabel and Sally. Card's dumb. It's a level down effect on a body. It's searchable. On play, ditch a card, choose one of your opponent's characters. They send it to waiting room and swap it with a character that is a lower level than the character you chose.
Against standby.
Yeah, it removes standby targets. If you're ahead in hand, especially things with hand encore, you can just force your opponent to trade card for card in hand with you. You can put yourself even further ahead that way. You can level down early plays, get them out of the way, kill annoying 2-1 level assists in the back row. The possibilities are endless, and the card is very annoying.
That's why we run 3.
That is, yep. This is Bully Bofuri, and we're running as many cards to interfere
Bully
with
the opponent.
interfere with our opponent's game plan as possible.
Yep.
Speaking of, the other card we're playing at level 1, Unbalanced Maple, is an Amagi. When you play a climax, you can pay 1, look it up to 4, take a level 1 or higher card, and the more important effect, it has Act Rest this card, and choose one of your opponent's characters, blink it to memory, and bring it back. So yet another hate effect, lets you blink markers off your opponent's characters, blink any sort of cross-turn power, cross-turn neg soul, whatever. Lets you deal with situations like that as well, while also being a pretty decent back row card in its own right as an Amagi.
Yep, you got all the points.
Mm-hmm. All right, our 1 level 2 card in the deck. Now this is a card I'm not sure I completely agree with. It's a burn counter. So when you play this 2500 power counter, you can pay 2, burn 1 to your opponent. If it were up to me, this is Tyler's list. I think I'd prefer to play some sort of anti-change in the slot, whether that's a counter or the 1/1 pain Adachi that the set has. So let's talk about this a little bit.
Okay, the reason why I'm running this is I feel like even threatening just the burn 1 is nice, because there have been, in a couple games of playing this list, I have actually run into a problem at level 2 where I get the opponent to 3-6 or 3-5. And in that scenario, threatening that is good, even if you don't have it.
It's kind of like pushing them to refresh almost. You just you threaten to kill them unless they have a healer, basically.
Yeah, but my thought process was you get closer to killing with atrocity easier, because normally you only kill with the burn 1 with atrocity. Normally.
Yeah. I
normally
guess.
The others, yeah.
I guess, but that's in my opinion, this is a slot that's up for debate. But I have seen we've got a ReZero player in our local scene in Pittsburgh that plays the Betty burn counter in ReZero, and I have seen the burn counter work. It's definitely
I've lost to it.
It's definitely effective at closing out games if you stick your opponent to 3-6 and they don't have a healer. So I'll give you that one.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much argumentative purpose for this card. This card is interchangeable if you'd like to change it.
This is a flex slot.
Yeah.
So our first level 3 we've got here is the Conade early play. Full field early play, heals to waiting room on play, swings in at 11k on the first turn that it's played. Pretty standard, easy condition. I much prefer 4 or more full field early play to 2 or less early play. It's a lot easier to meet. You don't get randomly screwed over by canceling too much or whatever. So it's pretty boring, but good enough early play healer that helps you extend your mid game.
I mean, I don't know why you say it's boring. It's a good card.
Healers are boring. They don't do anything. They extend the game. They do what they do, but there's no cool flashy effect on this card. It does what it does, and it does it well.
Enough. Yep.
Also at level 3, we have the Mei and Yui Adachi. Not Adachi. God, what's that card called? Akatsuki. Not Akatsuki. Musashi.
No, Musashi.
Jeez, a brain fart. Musashi. Oh. On play, if you've got full field, you can stock a game character from your waiting room, so it plays effectively for 1. And on the turn it's played, when damage dealt by it is canceled, you can Musashi burn. Mill the top card of your deck and burn your opponent equal to the level of the milled card plus 1. So another a cheap way to fill an extra lane in the end game and help yourself push
some extra
push for
damage.
game a little bit harder. Yeah, it's a fine card.
Yeah.
We've got yet another hate card in our arsenal here. The level 3 Machine God Maple. On play, pay 1, stock swap your opponent. So if your opponent is a deck that wants to build a bunch of stock, you have this in your list to deal with them as well. Something also to note, I forgot to put it on the slide here, but we are playing 2 copies of the pants, the deploy left arm climax that goes with this. So if you don't have enough stock for the atrocity finisher, which we're going to talk about in a second here, which is 6 stock, it's a lot. This is a cheaper finisher that you can pivot into if you're having a rough game.
I don't think it's a rough game. I think you pivot into it based off of the deck compression of your opponent.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, Icy Tails, this Icy Tails for 4 if your opponent's super compressed, and you can, like, if your opponent is like 3 and 4 or whatever on their last deck, you can tear through their clean deck, push them to refresh, and have a better chance at finishing them off there.
Yeah, the thing that I was really trying to go with this deck was this deck is so good at changing your play style at any notice.
Yeah, you can just pivot into whatever you need at any time. Like if your opponent is flooding the board with walls, you've got level down. If your opponent's
Well, that's why we run almost no 4-ofs in this deck. We run almost all 2s and 3s, except for 0s.
Which I think is might be the fatal flaw of this deck, is aside from like Brainstorm, there isn't a lot of selectivity. Your level 1 combo is unselective, it reveals off the top. You have 2 other cards at level 0 that grab cards unselectively, they just mill 4 and take a thing.
Yeah, unselective, but I think since you have so many options,
I mean, you just kind of throw everything at the wall and something will stick. Is basically how this deck works.
Well, yeah. You have Brainstorm, you have Ricky, you have a lot of look at up to 4 take 1.
Right. It's not like you don't have ways to get things.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of things, we've got our big finisher of the deck, Atrocity Maple. Talking about it up to this point. On play, on the turn it's played, it gets 3k power, so it goes up to 12-5, 13-5 with climax. And also on play, it can pay 1 stock and salvage any climax from your waiting room. So even if you're not going for the gate combo with the atrocity, you can grab
and do Icy Tail.
Yeah, you can go for the Icy Tail, or you can take your 2 soul for some reason.
There's no reason why you'd want a 2 soul.
You need that, but that's a thing you can do with this card.
Yeah.
But yeah, the effect, the card does require a reverse. Swings in at 13-5 with climax. Pay 6, ditch 2 cards, and sack the climax. When this card's opponent becomes reversed, burn 1, burn 2, burn 3. The only reason we're running 3 copies of this card instead of 4, obviously, is you are never fielding 2 copies of this. You are never going for double atrocity unless you have an insane amount of stock for some reason.
And not being threatened with stock swap.
Right. So, I mean, obviously, your opponent's playing bad if they let that happen. So.
Yeah.
So you fill your other 2 lanes with your off finishers like the Musashi, and
stock swap
your opponent if they're compressed. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the guiding principle behind this deck was the Mei and Yui level 1, the 2 soul combo, is the only combo in Bofuri that generates stock. It's the only stock building combo in the set, and this just happens to be the most expensive combo in the set that we were trying to make work. And that's kind of how the basis of this came to be. You play the stock building combo into the expensive finisher, pretty intuitive. And then on top of that, we decided to dogpile on a bunch of the hate cards in the deck, and surprisingly, works pretty well.
Yeah, the deck runs actually surprisingly clean.
So yeah, looking at the deck overall, we play 20 level zeros, so pretty consistent at level zero. You always have some sort of play. Most of them are field plussing zeros too. The maple that sits at 45, the climax swap. Uh, Marcus isn't necessarily a field plussing zero, but if your opponent decides to side him for some reason, he can stick around because he's a bomb. Level one, if your opponent missteps in their deck at all, if they run through too many climaxes randomly and are just having a bad game, the level one combo will just end the game on the spot.
I also forgot to mention when we were talking about the Undeath Akatsuki for level 0.
Mm-hmm.
Um, another reason why I'm running it over the Kome is because this deck actually somehow floods your hand with climaxes, and you need Ditch Outlet.
It's a climax out, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a climax out, and I somehow completely forgot about that when we were talking about it.
I mean, I guess Coma is a climax out. It just adds another climax to your hand in return.
But that's not what I need.
Right. Yeah, so your climax outs in the deck, especially since you are playing Pants, you've got the Chiuri at level 0 and the level down at level 1.
And Brainstorm too. You can slam a climax,
Right.
ditch a climax.
Yep. But yeah, the level 1 combo, I found sticks damage surprisingly often on first deck. You just slam that 2 soul, your opponent eats like 2 of the attacks and cancels one of them is optimal for you usually. Just
Or just beat it all.
just your opponent just like immediately levels up to level 2 if their deck is in any sort of suboptimal position, and from there it can be kind of hard to recover. The level 3, uh, pretty standard again. You go hard for atrocity when you can afford it. Otherwise, you pivot into the stock swap with the icy tail if you need it. The Musashi when you need the extra damage in a lane as well, especially since it plays for only one stock. It helps play toward your game plan of hoarding stock for atrocity.
Yeah, the Musashi is also really good because it only costs 1 stock, so it's easier to get atrocity off since it costs so much.
Right. Yeah. You got your early play healer to extend your mid game. Yeah. So overall, looking at this deck, it looks really weird at first. You're playing 3 different colors of climaxes. You want blue at level 1 for level down sometimes, just to play it.
No,
Not,
you want yellow for the level 1 combo for
yeah,
sure.
right. I mean, but it is your auxiliary level 1, and if you need to feel the third lane for some reason, if you're breaking out, you aren't playing that much blue, but I feel like in the multitude of games I've played against this with you playing it, it doesn't seem like you're fielding this at level 1 all that often. You definitely want to be try fielding the Maya and Yui combo at level 1 as
Yeah.
often as you can.
Normally, you would start using the level down to abuse at level 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's normally what I do because you try and do yellow level 1, blue level 2, red level 3.
Yep. Yeah, you just have to find that red and find that blue and make sure that they're there when you need it.
Yeah.
But the climaxes being certain colors isn't an issue. Sally fixes that for you. We play 4 of Sally. You should be seeing that every game unless you're really unlucky. Uh, but other than that, yeah, I've played into this deck with Tyler playing it a number of times now, and it seems really fun. It's a very different take on the normal like Neg Soul or 8 standby Bofuris that are floating around out there. And I definitely recommend you guys check it out if you're interested in playing something like this. Uh, yeah, so I guess I'll close it out here. Like we do at the end of all of our videos, we have the links to all of the community hotspots, the card game and competitive Weiss discords, the best places to talk to other people about the game. They're pretty active. The Facebook groups, Weiss Schwarz Global, Weiss Schwarz NA community, are your best bet for buy, sell, trade Weiss Schwarz cards. And listed are all of our main cast Twitters if you want to give me a follow at the Twitter that I do not use. Anything to add before we close out here?
We solved Bofuri.
We did. We solved Bofuri. This list is sick. Highly recommended. Very fun.
Yeah, please try this deck. It plays a lot more. It plays more fun than what it looks like.
I mean,
yeah, English.
Nothing's more satisfying than slamming a 2-soul and watching your opponent die.
True.
That's why I play Disgaea. I haven't played Disgaea in so long. All right, anyway. Pittsburgh Weiss Schwartz signing off. Until next time. See ya.
Later.